I'm Delta Work, and this is Very Scary Delta. The Boulet Brothers are on the show today, and we talk about eating bugs, getting pushed off a bridge, and good old fashioned apple pie. But first, do you want to see me go off? Because I think you want to see me go off.
Oh.
Mom!
Do you hold the space? Are you very scary like me? Ghoulish, gory? Ooh, are you on the edge like me? Turned on by a corpse? Bargains fall across the strip mall. The lunch hour is close at hand. Karens crawl in search of managerial blood, and goblin monsters terrorize this 99-cent neighborhood. Pumpkin spice, flickering candles, seasonal whiskey by the handles, scented soaps, unlimited soups, a TJ Maxx, I gots to poops, a cold Diet Coke, a small fried fish. When hearts gather round, we have one wish. Oh wait, is that a spirit Halloween? It's Very Scary Delta!
I'm Delta Work, and this is Very Scary Delta, a luxury public access podcast and YouTube talk show where I look gorgeous, speak extemporaneously, and invite fascinating people to sit on the couch and get very scary Delta. Very Scary Delta is for the woman who is not just friends with the monsters under her bed, but in love with the monsters in her head. But first, let's get into some things that are very Delta. How Halloween are you? Are you really spooky ooky? Are you really pumpkin spice? Are you really witch's brew? So many people say, oh, I'm so excited about Halloween. I am a Halloween girly. Everyone is so about Halloween. But if you really are very scary Delta, how come I don't see you showing up and showing out at the clubs? How come when queens are doing Halloween numbers, you aren't so excited? You swear you love Halloween, but when you see somebody doing the Bride of Chucky, you're like, oh my God, it's not really Halloween yet. This early? Yes, this early. You said you were very scary. You said you were a Halloween girly. You said you were ready to put out the pumpkins. You said you were ready to go have a witch's brew milkshake. You said you were going to have a pumpkin spice drink. But I think you're just fronting. I don't think you really are spooky ooky. So many people used to love Halloween and put up their decorations. I barely see decorations anymore. Tons of stuff at Costco and at home and Home Goods and all these different things. And people, as soon as they come to my home, you're ready decorated for Halloween? If you say that to me when you come into my home, I don't think you really knew me at all. That's not what you say when you come to my house. You should be excited. You should say, oh my gosh, I thought you were going to get ready for Halloween even earlier. You should be over the moon about Halloween. If you're very scary Delta, you should really show that shit. You should be getting your Halloween costume ready right now. You should be wearing orange and black all season. You should be going to pumpkin patches and Not Scary Farm and horror nights. And you should be going to all the different things that everyone does for Halloween. Where are you? Where are my ghoulies at? Where are my girly ghoulies? Where are the very scary, quite contraries? You swear you're Halloween, but I don't see you. I don't think you're Halloween. I think you're pumpkin spice. I think you are infinity scarves and mushroom ankle booties. That's who you are. You're not Nancy from The Craft. You just like to watch Nancy from The Craft. Stop lying. Stop telling everybody you're so Halloween when you're not. Halloween used to be different. It really did. I don't know what changed it. I have to tell you this too. I don't want to ruin anyone's life. I don't want to shit on anyone, but I have to tell you this. Drag entertainers, listen up. Maybe you're not a Halloween person. That's okay. But if you get booked in a Halloween show, just getting a little bit of stage blood from Party City and sprinkling it on a regular costume does not make it Halloween. Not everybody in the show has to do Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. There are other songs. There's nothing wrong with that song if that's one of the 3 songs you do for the Halloween show. But if everybody in the show is bringing that song, I think that says something. Also, that stage blood, stop spilling that everywhere. If you're doing a show and other people are in the show, other people in their white bride costume or really any costume don't want to go out on the stage and slip in your stage blood because you were so creative and you were like, oh, stage blood, stage blood. Look how scary I am. That's not scary. That's like not enough effort. A Halloween number. Wrap yourself around it. Make it interesting. It doesn't have to be all kinds of dialogue. It could just be a witty, simple little thing, right? It could be, I don't know, you're dressed up as a witch and you do Dark Lady by Cher. That could be a number. You could be a fortune teller and do Dark Lady. That could be a number. You could dress up as a nurse and have rhinestoned blood on your costume and do Doctor's Orders by Carol Douglas. There are ways around this, but just getting stage blood and spraying it all over yourself and walking out there and going, ooh, I'm scary. That ain't it. Don't take a booking in a Halloween show if you're not going to do a Halloween number. It's all Halloween numbers. And if you're that girl that's out there and you are doing Halloween numbers all month long and no one's paying attention, I see you because I understand that. I do Halloween numbers too, and I love it. It's my favorite time of year. And there are people that are like, what is going on? Well, guess what? You're in our house. And in this house, we do Halloween numbers. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. We do Halloween numbers up in this. We do Halloween numbers in the great room. We do Halloween numbers in the club. We do Halloween numbers in the Delta Work Theater. That's where we do Halloween numbers. And if you don't like it, stop saying that you're witchy. Stop saying that you're spooky ooky. Stop. Support the dolls. Book the dolls. Come see the dolls. Give the dolls $1. We're dressed up as Halloween. I thought you loved Halloween. You told us you did. Some of the Halloween numbers I like to do that people love on Halloween, but throughout the month, they're kind of like, what? And I don't get it because it's the season. It's the season of the witch. Lily Munster. Oh my God. It's a dead man's party. Who could ask for more? I'm here. Lily Munster. Don't you know who that is? I wear my Lily Munster wig and my Lily Munster dress and people are like, oh, are you Manila Luzon? Are you dressed up as Manila? Manila? For Halloween? No, I'm Lily Munster. Or they'll see it and they'll go, are you Cruella? Cruella? I think we need to differentiate what the white and black hair is. Manila Luzon looks like Manila Luzon. The Bride of Frankenstein has streaks in her hair, and that hair is actually like more of a copper color, but we accept it in a black and white film as black and white. Cruella, completely different black and white hair. Lily Munster's hair, a white streak and a white streak. They're completely different hairdos. But people, are you Tiffany from Bride of Chucky? That's blonde hair with black roots. Why is everybody confused? It's because you fake the funk. Because you say you watch these movies and you don't. You're not paying attention. I don't get it. Another number I love to do. Nancy from The Craft. There's so many looks. So many girls do Nancy from The Craft, and they all do a great job. You could do the witchy look. You could do the schoolgirl look. You could have any song you want, and there's songs from the soundtrack, whatever it is. But people, they'll look at it. Oh, what are you supposed to be? What am I supposed to be? I hate that. People will come and they go, who are you being? Who am I being? Restructure that sentence. I need that sentence restructured, and then I need you to come back. I'm confused. Like, people really they don't have televisions? Like, everybody. Nobody has a television. It shocks me to my core when people have no idea what's going on whatsoever at all. I'm tired of it. You know what? I'm just going to stay up here in the lab and make myself a man with blonde hair and a tan. Do you want to see me take a break? Because I think you want to see me take a break. Today's guest just left the Nosferatu beach party and took the ghost train to get here. Please help me welcome the Boulet Brothers. Hi, I'm so grateful you're here.
Thank you so much for having us.
I always see you as so glamorous. And I think, obviously people always want to relate the Boulet Brothers obviously to horror, but I always think glamour first. I think it's glamour and it's horror, of course, because they're both hand in hand, don't you think?
I agree. I think that's an accurate description.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you. For me, my favorite combo is gore and glamour. Like together, it's chef's kiss.
Yeah. How long have you both been doing doing glam and horror?
Well, we did drag and horror for a while before we actually became the Boulet Brothers, because we started off in nightlife production. So we did these crazy stage shows every night, and we would get in drag, but then sometimes we'd be in drag and sometimes we'd be like male presenting characters and all this
Okay.
different stuff. And then at one point we decided, well, we need to host this thing ourselves. So we developed these characters, and then it's been that way ever since. That's been, God, a long time ago.
Yeah, probably close to 10 years, maybe even a little more. But I do think we like to think that we were trying to pull off glamour for years. But the reality is, I think that didn't really develop till about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think we really sort of like perfected our aesthetic and,
Mhm. And you're always known, obviously, for these looks. Do you have a certain inspirations?
we look at things like retro cartoons and graphic novels and comic books because the imagery and the costuming is so just stamped. It's two-dimensional, it's instantly recognizable, it's color blocking, it just emanates with a vibe. And I think that's we brought some of that into our drag for sure.
There's this bar in Highland Park. It's called the Offbeat Bar, and they have this wall of someone has painted this wall, and it's all like sort of 1960s ladies on rockets to the moon. And I always think of the both of you because they have these
That is
big
such a compliment.
like Martian clear bulbs, and their waists are cinched, and the arch of the foot is just so. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, the Boulet Brothers on this wall every time I
love
see
that.
it.
Thank
I
you.
love
I
that.
love
Thank
so when
you.
you say that about the inspirations, it makes total sense. I mean, it's not something that you I think even try to do. It's just innate. It's just what you love, right?
Yeah,
It really
I don't
is.
think I don't think we drew inspiration and drag from actual living people. You know, a
Right.
lot of times it was like, I love Evil Lynn from He-Man, and it was those kind of things that were like, and I think you can see that in our look a little bit because we try to keep really clean lines, and it's almost a little cartoony in a way, and how exaggerated it is. So yeah. Oh, before we get started, I have a gift for you.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yes, because I know how much you love Halloween, so I had to
do.
bring you.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
Oh my
Some
okay.
Halloween trees.
There's eyes in here, which I love. Oh my god, thank you.
Of
Yes.
course.
And look at that.
Notice how much you love Halloween. And by the way, I love your new intro for Halloween. I
Thank
just watched
you.
it yesterday. I love it. Especially the smashing the pumpkin on the ground.
Well, now I have to say, I have to be dead honest. You know what about cheating for camera for certain things? We got the pumpkin, and Doug was like, "All right, you're just gonna smash it." And of course, I pick it up, and I have zero muscle. I'm all marshmallow, so I'm holding it. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't think I can hold this thing." He's like, "Just smash it." I threw it down, and it bounced. He's like, I think we might need to get somebody in here to do this with you. There was a ladder. There was this. It was a mess, but we finally got it. It was cheated for camera for sure. Thank you for those
Gotcha.
gifts. That's so sweet.
You're welcome.
I'm so thankful. Yeah, I just, I watch your show and I always think like, God, did I miss the boat? Like I should have done this. Like Drag Race, why? Like this is more intense. It's more interesting. I think it's more referential. I think it definitely highlights so many different people that are monsters, but maybe are glamorous, maybe are absolutely frightening, maybe are unnerving, maybe are all of those things. Is that what that you celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, to me, even though we say it's monster drag and all that, I really just think it's drag, right?
Yeah.
Like you've been performing like we have for a long time, and when you actually perform in clubs, the diversity in the cast that shows there's a lot. You have drag kings and trans performers and everything. And for a long time, other shows didn't allow that on their show. And so I think a part of the queer community felt a little left out. So it was important for us to be like, we want to celebrate all forms of drag,
Mhm.
and if all drag is valid, then all drag is valid, right?
Right.
So we kind of want to celebrate. I mean, you have to be good at it, obviously.
Yeah.
Or delusional. One or the other makes you great for TV.
I always wonder because I feel like a lot of queer people are very attracted to horror films, Halloween. I don't know if it's the idea of being able to dress up and be somebody else even for a day. What do you think that is?
I think that when we look back at horror history in cinema, you can look at monsters. There are so many movies. I mean, the list is kind of endless, from Frankenstein to Silence of the Lambs, Dress to Kill. I mean, on and on and on. Terror Train, where your villain is someone who's dressed as a woman, or
Right.
they're a transvestite, or some kind of like depiction of them being deranged in some way. And as a young queer person, you see that, and whether you're cognizant of it or not, you relate to that character because you're like, oh,
Mhm.
a little piece of me is that. Am I the monster? And
Sure.
then you take that and you reclaim that title and just say, yes, I am the monster, and I love it.
So when you watched Psycho, you were like, I need that granny wig.
No, not definitely not. Although it is iconic.
It is. It is.
It is definitely. Did you both love Halloween as kids?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
something we connect on a lot. Yeah, Halloween was was a great time because I could be myself and not get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
I grew up in New England too, so it was very much the classic Halloween experience with the leaves turning and changing
Oh,
and
so
getting
pretty.
cold, and just running around the neighborhood trick or treating. And I used to work in haunted houses and just always loved the villain of everything. So Halloween was a for sure my
Yeah.
favorite.
I love that. How was what was it? Midsummer?
Scream.
Midsummer Scream, yeah.
How was that?
It was a lot of fun. This is our second year going, and we sort of built a whole castle in there. And we did like meet and greets, and we had merch and all this stuff. And some of the cast members came. And to me, it felt so good because it was a bridge between queer culture and the horror culture. Sometimes the horror culture, a small vocal minority, can be a little bit homophobic, honestly. And
Mm.
so I feel like our castle was sort of a beacon for all the queer people there. Not only them, but them especially, I would say.
And it was like really well supported. There was a line wrapped around the castle pretty much all day, both years. So
Love it.
it's also a beacon to say, like, yes, we're not asking permission to be here. We're taking up space, and it's right in the front, and it's impressive and fun, and it celebrates the same things that everyone celebrates. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like some people from the horror space see us more as horror host characters like Elvira or the Crypt Keeper or something like that
course.
versus being a drag artist. And then, the queer side of things usually sees us as drag. So it's kind of like, it's interesting. It's an interesting mix.
It's interesting what you say about taking up space because I feel like in a figurative sense, but also in a literal sense, it sends two different messages when you are in a space like that, and people do respect you for the characters and for the space that you're taking up. That sort of visual to people who may just see pictures of it on Instagram and can see themselves in you and say, I want to be glamorous. I want to do that. I want to have a voice and say something. That's why I always say with like podcasts, everybody has a podcast, but everybody has something to say,
yeah,
and
sure.
they relate differently to people.
That's why we started our podcast, because Drac always has a ton of stuff to say.
That's not true. Sometimes.
No, it is true. And I think I just going back to this idea of horror and being able to be whoever you want to be, not just at Halloween, because I love Halloween. Yeah, it's a great season, but I feel like it's a state of mind. And it's all year round, don't you think?
For sure. I mean, the love for Halloween sort of goes with an attraction just to like the darkness and everything. So that permeates from movies to fashion, drag performance, certainly television, a lot of media.
Yeah. What about being on the cover of Fangoria?
Oh, that was what a full circle moment, because both of us were subscribers of Fangoria when we were kids. Like I would get it for the movies and the makeup and just the monsters, and seeing that image, and just they were gagged too, because that copy sold. It was like the best selling issue that they had.
Wow.
Yeah, not since they restarted it a couple of years ago, because obviously it went on, during the 80s and all that for a long time. But their new, what is it, volume 2 of it? It was the biggest selling issue.
That's
Which is really
amazing.
cool.
It's so cool to see people that I don't want to say do what you do, but people that do drag, seeing them elevated in a way, not just elevated by somebody else, but by their own work. You put in the work for something, and to see that full circle thing, it also is like it's a win for other people as well. It's a win for other people who are your fans and who love you and are like, wow, that's us too. we're part of that, you know? It
Thank
feels
you.
good.
Thank you for seeing that. I mean, touring really showed me that it was sort of an unexpected aspect of what we do to meet fans just in a very personal way and hear their stories about how something we created affected their lives. And it really is a connection.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
At first, I didn't get it. I was like, why are they? They're like, oh my God, this show means that, everything to me. And at first, I was like, wait, we're like, we had all
Well, like,
those
we
crazy
throw people out of
exterminations and
planes.
everything. I'm like, okay. But then I was like, okay, they see themselves in the show and they feel like they have a home and that we're building a home that welcomes them.
Yeah. I really identify with the fact that the two of you, when you are out and you're presenting as the Boulet Brothers, you're in drag.
Yes.
And I feel like, I get invited to do people's podcasts and they're like, oh, you don't have to come in drag. And I feel like people know me because of the drag. And so like with the same thing with like maybe my cameo videos or something like that. I know there's people that if it works for them, it works for them. And that's their story. But for me, people want to see or will listen to the message if they can connect it to what they know.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just sitting here in my cargo shorts and my like mustard stained t-shirt, no one cares.
Not the mustard stain.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, they're not signing. They don't. I don't think that people even necessarily really want that.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want the illusion to be shattered. Like I subscribe to the thought of this is a persona that they relate to or that they want to see more of, and I would hate to shatter that illusion.
Right. Joan Rivers used to get dressed up for everything, put her makeup on and just to go simple shopping. And they said, you don't have to do that. And she said, when people meet Joan Rivers, they want to meet Joan Rivers. And that's just how I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Dolly Parton too has that sort of
Mhm.
vibe, and I've always drawn inspiration from that. I'm like, they want to see the fantasy.
Right.
They don't want to see your regular life. There's plenty of regular people they can see around every day, I mean,
Right.
sometimes I guess it makes you feel human for them to see you just like as a regular person, but I don't know. I just like the fantasy. I'm like, I don't want to take that from them.
Truth is, we really wouldn't know anything about that. Like people have never. They just don't see it.
Yeah, we never
Yeah.
take pictures out of drag or like show up to anything. It's just, I don't know, not our thing.
I like the mystery of it. I like that it's like a unicorn, like comes out when it comes out, goes away, and you don't know. I wish I had sort of that had done that in a way. I love that. Of course, when you're do Drag Race or any of the shows, you have to break that wall a bit as a
Sure.
contestant. But it's different for the two of you as a host because you're able to hang on to that, and I admire it. I think it's cool.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank
It
you
makes
so
life
much.
difficult too, though. Sometimes,
Oh, I'm
honestly,
sure.
like sometimes it's like I'd rather just be able to film this thing that I need to film in 20 minutes instead of 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Sure. Sounds like it. Let's take a break. We are back with the glamorous Boulet Brothers. We were just chit-chatting about everything Halloween and everything about being hostesses. Where would people, if you didn't have an obligation, where would people find you on Halloween? Would you still be going out or would you be inside?
I think it'd be at home, like a house party.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I really love the traditional, like jack-o'-lanterns,
love it.
carving jack-o'-lanterns, making Halloween-themed food, and just decorating everything. I think a house party.
Yeah, I think that for sure because we like the warmth and the glow of the Halloween season and getting
Mhm.
people together that also love that. It's so great. So I think we would be doing that for sure. Although during the pandemic, we didn't have a Halloween ball, and I sometimes wonder what everybody did that year or
Yeah.
during that time. And I think the full moon came very close, if not on Halloween. So we went down to Malibu and went down to the water, literally just like on Halloween at midnight under the moon, and it was a very cool, memorable moment.
Wow.
Yeah,
That sounds beautiful.
yeah.
If you were to go trick-or-treating, like say it was just a magical time, what would be your favorite candy?
Okay, I like a really obscure one. Score bars?
Yes.
Love
Elite.
it. That's my
Elite.
favorite. Yeah.
I love a score bar.
For me, I like sour with my sweet. So like anything with a sour twist and gummies too, like you said it earlier. Sour Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, sour worms. Like I can't get enough.
Have you had those? What are like nerd clusters? Have you had
Mhm.
those?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those are good. I
What's
love
your
that.
favorite?
I usually say like a Reese's,
Okay.
Mhm.
like a Reese's cup, but I feel like I love the ratio of more peanut butter than chocolate.
Yeah.
So that's why I like when they do the ghost, or at Christmas they do the tree.
Yeah.
Mhm. A sleeper hit for me too. Since you brought up Score, I think my version of that, Baby Ruth's.
They don't get the love,
Yeah,
and
They
they're
don't,
so
and they are
good.
delicious.
Mhm.
I used to be into 100 Grand, where it was just like crispy.
Oh
yeah,
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 Those are good.
yeah.
Those are old
I think we
school.
basically like all the candy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like just I'll find a place for it. I'll
Yeah.
find a place. I'll find a time for it. When did the two of you become the Boulet Brothers?
I don't know how long it's been now. I just know where it was, and we had this event that went on for a long time, and we had designed it because we're producers, behind the scenes, and so we always produced the event and would build the sets and dress everybody up and do rehearsals with the burlesque girls and all that stuff. And we had this host character who was fabulous. She was larger than life. She was just amazing, but she had to leave town suddenly, and she used to host the event.
Okay.
And we were like,
Like, what are we gonna do,
supposed to do
basically?
now?
Yeah.
Like we don't want to stop the event. So that's what kind of inspired us to say we need to step out in front of the curtain and sort of own our own power, and that we are a bigger part of this all than people realize.
I was gonna say, when did we become the Boulet Brothers? It was a cold and dark, stormy night years ago. No, but honestly, what Drac said is actually closer to the truth.
You're right.
That's funny. Halloween House Party, the
Yes.
album. Tell us about the album.
Okay, so every family has like their Christmas album that they pull out every Christmas, and it kind of makes you feel nostalgic. We wanted to create the Halloween version of that. So we wanted it to be like a record, like we were getting records made, the whole thing that you could just put on for your Halloween party or when you're carving jack-o'-lanterns or whatever, and that's what it's for. It's just a holiday Halloween album.
Yeah, everybody who loves Halloween puts together their playlist probably right around this time of year.
Right.
Like as the end of September rolls in, or October 1st, the first time you hit play on your Halloween playlist, you're like, I'm getting into the mood. And we wanted any of the songs, there are 5 tracks on the EP, to exist on people's Halloween playlist. And they really can. It's all just a celebration, love letter to Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like when you go to like Spotify or you go to any of the platforms, when you do click in like Halloween music, you do get some. They're great, but they're the traditional things that you would hear on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear something different. It's nice to hear nostalgic things in new voices. I love that. I love anything like those deep cuts where you're like, I've never heard that before.
Mhm.
Why have I not heard that before?
Yeah.
It's buried on an album somewhere and just didn't get any play. And so it's exciting to hear something new that's out there that people are going to be able to enjoy and feel nostalgic about.
Yeah, there's 2 bands I want to plug actually. I think you might like if you like this music. One is Twin Temple. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Love.
You do. They're
Love.
friends of ours. Their music is
Really?
inspirational.
Yes,
yeah.
we-
Mhm.
Oh, I love
Hang out and
that.
have game night sometimes with a group, a coven of weirdos that live in the
Yeah.
valley. It's pretty amazing.
I
And
love-
Shannon and the Clams is the other one.
Okay.
It's a little
Yeah.
more obscure, but like her voice is just fantastic.
I love that. I love Halloween music so much. And there's a song that that a lot of people don't know about. You probably know about, and it's called The Mummy's Bracelet.
I don't
That's
know
not
that
familiar.
one.
I don't
You
know
will
that.
die.
Okay.
My dream is to record this song with someone, and the whole concept of the song is this person is narrating that they're at a museum at night, and they hear something talking, and the mummy goes, "Someone stole my bracelet." And they're looking for this bracelet, and the mummy keeps saying, "Someone stole my bracelet." And it's so homosexual, this voice. And then at the end, they find the bracelet, and he goes, "I found my bracelet." And it's just, he's so pained and so, it's like languid, and it's just, he's bored, and it's the best song. You have to look up The Mummy's Bracelet.
Oh, I
Well, I'll look it up
absolutely
when we
will
leave.
now.
You will
Yeah.
love it so much.
You should cover it. It sounds fun.
I was gonna
It's
say
so
we
fun.
might we've been talking about potentially expanding the Halloween house party concept next year and just adding songs and re-releasing. So if we decide to do a duet or have a special
It
guest,
could be
The
fun.
Mummy's Bracelet with Delta work.
What's neat is that the singing voice is just kind of like a little like, I was in the like it's that.
Yeah.
But then there's somebody else that's like luxurious and sexy, and it could be the two of your voices, right? It could be
I don't like where this is going because that means I'm gonna be the one that's like
stop it. Dragula season 1 to season 666. So
Yes.
there's been an evolution. Would you
Yeah.
say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, when we created season 1, it was really sort of a pilot. It was just a few episodes. They were short, and it was just a proof of concept. So, then the show got picked up after that. So it transformed a lot. You can still see a lot of the same heart in season one, I think. Even some of the things we do, like when
Yes.
we're presenting the floor shows and all this stuff, it's there. It's just a funnier version of
In like an
it.
infantile stage.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And we've learned a lot about television production. Coming from a production background in like nightlife and live events really helped, but TV is absolutely its own world. So
Sure.
there were a lot of bumps and bruises and cuts along the way, but every year we strive to pour back into the show and make it better and closer to what our initial vision was. We just didn't have the support or the funds, frankly.
What do you think goes into the makeup of a good contestant for Dragula?
I think they have to have a good heart at base because we just don't want to elevate people that will go out there and just put negativity out there. Now, some of them are kind of wild and misunderstood, but I still believe they have a good heart.
Sure.
So it's important for us to make sure that they, have a good moral compass, but their look should also be distinct because we don't want to, we all can watch YouTube and look at all the makeup divas and it's all the same kind of thing, and I think with the show, we want to make sure we're reminding people drag is all over the place, right? And so all different kinds of makeup are accepted. And so we want to make sure people have their own style.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd also say too that we love to celebrate artists, not just someone who wants to be famous or someone with a voice that comes out and it's very distinct. Nothing is more palpable and more powerful when a contestant has a very distinct brand and it's consistent. It doesn't mean all the looks are the same, but you can see the through line through all of their looks together. It just exudes strength of character and concept, and we're really attracted to that.
I love that. Do either of you collect anything that's like Halloween or entertainment related?
Well, I do. I collect antique blow molds, like the Halloween blow molds.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah, I'll show
those.
you a picture when we're
Yeah,
done.
we
Yeah.
had Drax had an explosion over the last like year or two. We now own like so many, but I do love when they're on. We'll turn everything else off, and they emit this like really warm glow. It's
Uh-huh.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is pretty. Do you collect anything in specific?
I don't think anything for Halloween per se.
No,
No, I'm not really like
you're
a
not a
collector
stuff
person. Yeah,
person.
I don't like stuff. Yeah, I like experiences.
I love that. Well, that's true because people give gifts and they call them disappearing gifts, which is like an experience. So
Yeah.
it could be something as simple as going to a movie or going to see a play. I have a friend that always buys people tickets, says, I'm going to buy you a ticket for a play and I'm going to take you to dinner. And that experience is like
I do love that.
amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great gift. So you don't like stuff, you like experiences. But if you had to buy something, you had to decorate for Halloween, you could only go to one store.
Oh, well, we're we're those kind of girls that like even if we have like we have like a half an hour. Let's go to Home Goods. Let's go to
Yes.
home. Like let's go through the aisles and start digging around. And you do it enough, and you see like, oh, they have this there. Oh, that's a little, the whole array. And as the month goes on, it gets more elaborate and bigger and kind of amazing. We'll check out all of the. I mean, even like if we're at a Target, we're like, gotta go through the
Yeah, or
Halloween
Pottery
section.
Barn. They always have their
Yep.
little like overpriced things that are cute.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure,
That's if you wanna spend too
overpriced.
much money.
Yeah.
For sure. You have your annual Halloween ball established in 2001. Tell me about that.
This goes back to the days where we were producing events and just wild and young, and we had no idea what we were doing, but we did know that we absolutely loved Halloween. And there was no Los Angeles Halloween ball at the time. Like,
Right.
no one was doing it. And we just saw such a huge opening because there are a lot of dark-sided people in Southern California.
Yeah.
Despite the sunshine and despite the culture, there is a love of darkness here. So we just loved pouring everything into Halloween. We did it year after year, and I think we just became known for it.
Mhm.
I just apologized to her yesterday. Actually, I was like, I'm sorry when we started the Halloween ball that I was so neurotic and drove you crazy
yeah.
because I was so obsessed with making sure people's experience was just out of this world. Like every corner had to be decorated or there was an attraction or a game or something everywhere. And I'm like, we didn't have to do all that.
This venue was not that big. I mean, it was okay, but it just wasn't that big at the time. And we would go in there weeks ahead of time, and Drac would take out the laptop and put it on a rolling tray, and we would
Stop.
literally roll to every square inch.
Stop.
And it was called the master list, and the master list was my undoing. Like that was what drove me to want to. Yeah.
My God. I think it's really weird because I've noticed like in nightlife, just doing local club, a Wednesday night show or a brunch or whatever. Once upon a time, I felt like, um, as soon as it was October, it was like, we're all going to do our Halloween numbers all month long and we're going to go crazy and people would love it. And then I feel like it's sort of like got to this place where, and I think it has a lot to do with who's attending the shows.
Mm.
Um, because you get a lot of people obviously that come in that have never seen drag before. So they're like not responding. And
Oh,
so I
really?
find myself sort of watering down the numbers to the point where I remember last year I was doing very typical numbers that people do. I was Lily Munster, and then I was doing, whatever numbers that people normally do. And people were like, what is this mix? What is this talking? What is this like? They wouldn't respond. And it got to the point where I was literally wearing like sequin devil horns, a sequin dress, and I was doing Bad Girls by Donna Summer in order to get a response. Now I get it,
Yeah.
brunch is a different animal, but you just think to yourself, like, why am I watering this down? Like,
Yeah.
you
it's
want that
October.
Tuesday night midnight crowd of queer people that show up
Exactly.
and they want to eat it up. Whatever you've got, they're ready to eat.
Like
Yeah.
they know drag, they've seen it
Yeah.
before. So when you go out on a limb, they're much more receptive to that. Keep it
Right.
weird.
Right.
Like that's when it's the best.
And they get your reference point. They get like, what is this dialogue? And they're like, that is from such and such movie. Oh my God, this totally fits this character.
Oh yeah.
I love doing that. And so many of the people that former contestants and winners from your show are those people that do that as well. And I always admire when I'm like, this crowd is rough, but they're selling it and they
Yeah.
don't give a shit because they're not going to compromise it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love
Totally.
that.
Yeah. You reminded me of something I haven't thought about in years, but when I was like still underage and not out of the closet, and I was in New York and I went to Splash Bar and I saw Lip Synca, and she did one of those dialogue montages, and I had never seen anything like it. I didn't know all the queer references. I just knew, I'm like, oh, this is gay. Like, this
Right,
is
right. This is
gay,
fierce.
and this is fierce, and I love it. Yeah, that really struck me.
That's so funny. I do remember like looking back at stuff like that when you're like, I'm going to figure this out. I don't know what the hell that is,
Yeah.
but I know I'm supposed to know that. I am
Mhm.
supposed to know that. And that's what's beautiful, I think, with Dragula is that sharing of the ideas and the resources and watching other artists. I think it can only help a contestant to want to, if there's somebody that needs to come out of their shell or has an idea of what they're doing, but they want to develop as they go. I used to be critical of Drag Race for that because they bring people on and the critique is, oh, you're learning or you're developing as you go. And I always thought to myself, aren't they supposed to be great when we get here?
Right.
And if we
Yeah.
suck, send us home.
Right.
And I went home and I was like, yeah, I sucked in the challenge. I was supposed to go home.
Mm.
So, but then when you watch people on Dragula that are like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's sickening. And if it doesn't work this time, I get it, because as the episodes go, you have to get even more refined about the critique. That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a difference with our show is that we bring people on that maybe aren't at their final form, right? And because I
Right.
think it's interesting, it's relatable to watch people grow and learn.
Right.
And so I feel like when they come on our show, sometimes they think they have it all together. And by the time they go home, they're like, I'm a completely different artist by now. I
Yes.
learned, because you learn so much from all the people around you as they're
Yeah.
making things. And
It's a very unique experience. And
Yeah.
we've seen it so many times where months, a year after their season aired, we watch through social media, through live shows, what they're doing. And you can see like, oh, this concept, this was just in the baby stages when they were on the show. And now look at how far they've pushed it. And the evolution is really
Right.
fascinating.
a good example of that from last season was Satana. I don't know if you know her or not.
I
but
do, yeah.
Yeah,
Girl.
she came
Oh
off
my
the show
God.
and just transformed, like totally. And it's not just the physical change, it's her personality. She's more upfront and vocal and unafraid. And I
Mhm.
think getting pushed out of your comfort zone, or in
Or
her
pushed
case
off
getting
a
pushed off
bridge.
a bridge, really helped her come out of her shell.
I always think that when I watch a show, like I'll watch a season and I'm like, they're not going to show me anything that I couldn't do. I'm just going to I would separate myself from it. I would just do it, go all the way through. I'll eat whatever. And then I'll see something and I'm like, I could never. And then I'm like, but could you? Like, are you at that point? Like on Drag Race when we had to like pose naked. And I was like, I could never possibly. And then ended up doing it, but then realizing later, like, you could have just taken, like, they gave us a piece of fabric and they said, you can do whatever. And I was like, I'll drape it strategically this quarter of a yard. I'll figure out a way. But I thought to myself, You know what would have blown their socks off is if I would have just used it as a head wrap. They would have been like,
oh yes.
Mhm.
that shows balls,
Yeah.
no pun
Yeah.
intended. But so I think about that when people eat stuff or, you know, is it that big of a deal? Like, if you separate yourself? I don't know if I can.
I mean, for me, like, I think one of the main things as a performer is like performance anxiety, right? Or
Yeah.
anxiety that you have. And I think that facing your fear is the most transformative thing you could do as an artist. And that's sort of while it's fun to watch drag artists jump out of planes and stuff, there is a bigger message to what we do, which is face your fear and you will become more powerful. At least that's been our experience, in our career so far.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I mean, and that's what I'm saying, like how the contestants really have that wherewithal and they have that conversation with themselves internally to go, it's just a bug. It's just bugs. What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen.
There's a
to
punk aspect to this too, with the
Yes.
group mentality. It's like if you may be capable of more than you think you are, because when you're on television and the cameras are rolling and there's 10 other in the room that are ready to do the thing that you're scared to do, you're like, I'm not going to allow myself to be
Right.
the one, and then you overcome it. You have more confidence going forward.
Yeah, you definitely. I think that's 1,000% true, and that's really anybody that I always say to people, when you get sent home from a competition, people go, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed," or this or that, and it's like, baby, you're in the majority. You're not
Yeah.
in the minority.
Yeah.
People
You're
lose
in the
sight of that.
majority. Everybody,
Totally.
only one person's going to rise to the top.
That's
Just
what
one.
we say. We're like, there's only one winner.
There's
so
just
like we say
one.
that on day one when everyone's there. I'm like, look, you're all fabulous and talented. We're fans of all of you.
Yeah.
But there's only going to be one winner. So you have to be cool with that and have a thick skin.
Right. And I do think from watching your show, because and of course this is just from an outside viewpoint, but as a viewer, when I watch, I think to myself, the hosts of this show really have a vested interest and do care about what happens here. It's not just a marketing tool, whereas there are other shows where that's the idea is, watching other shows, it's like, all right, we're gonna elevate you to this point. You're gonna be in a Vegas show. You're gonna be on a tour. You're gonna win. You're gonna
Yeah.
do this. And in this show, it's like, well, anything could happen.
That's the
Anybody-
truth.
Yeah.
We never know. When we always say that, like when we sit down on day one, we're like, what do you think's going to happen? And all the production people will sort of cast their predictions upstairs. There's a
On
giant
a big
wall
board.
with
It's
everyone's
fun. Yeah.
picture.
Then we revisit at the end of the season to see who was closest.
Yeah, and we're always wrong. We never know. It's always a surprise, So yeah, I mean, I think giving people the opportunity to rise to the top makes it fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Plus, look, I think we know exactly what it feels like to be queer, that you're already an outsider, but to be queer and weird, which I'm not going to say all of our contestants fall under that category, but many of them do. And just to have the found chosen family, and we want to see them succeed in whatever way they want to or can. That development is something we absolutely foster, because I think fans see themselves in the show, but we see ourselves in the competitors.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's not a cookie cutter way to win the show, right? It's not like, well, if you win, you have to go on tour and do drag all the time. No, you don't have to. If you want to use your drag to become a musician, fine. You want to become a fine artist, cool. Like, use the platform to elevate your brand and let it grow into what you want it to be.
Absolutely. Let's take a break. We are back with the Boulet Brothers. Now, this is the part of the show called Read Me Delta, where people send in their letters. They usually have questions or ask advice. We kindly ask that you do not send comments because you're a little brutal with them. So save your comments for your comment sections and things. So let's see our first letter. And of course, if you want to send a letter, you can send it to readmedelta@gmail.com. We will filter through. Sometimes these letters are actually addressed to the guest. They're just hoping that someone's going to be on eventually. So Doug will hang on to the letters and it's like, oh my gosh, they're here.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Oh, this one was obviously saved because it says, Dear Very Delta and sultry guests. They knew you were
Ooh.
coming.
They do know us.
I'm in a long-term gay relationship, but I don't have a domestic bone in my body. I work from home, but my boyfriend doesn't, and he suddenly has an issue that I never cook dinner. To quote Winona Ryder in Mermaids, my idea of cooking is hors d'oeuvres and fun finger foods. However, I do often prep so he can eat my ass. He cooks dinner for us frequently, but I never expected and always do the dishes. The few times I've tried to cook a meal for us, he critiques it and makes me feel pretty damn bad. So I simply don't anymore. What would you do? Do you cook? Is my relationship doomed to sink into the sands of unmet domestic expectations? Is my ass not enough? Yours devoutly, Fun Finger Foods Paul. Do either of you cook?
I will cook desserts and pies and stuff that's like kind of from scratch because I like that. But she's like cooks all the real food.
You
Yeah. To address, what was the finger food Paul?
Fun Finger Foods Paul.
You have a burden that you must carry because you are the one that works from home. So
Right.
that means you're intrinsically related to the domestic environment. I would say, be honest. They probably already know. Have the conversation to say, you know what? I know this is important to you. I want to get better at it. But if I'm going to bother to do this, I'm going to try. You have to be receptive. Like, don't be overly critical because that's just going to make me want to like run from it. If you want me to get better at it, you have to support me.
Right. I agree. What is something that you make that's like a default meal?
Probably orange chicken and fried rice.
That sounds good. That sounds good. I feel like when I have that at Panda, it's like too sweet.
It is a little bit, yeah.
Right?
But then sometimes it'll be more peppery. Like sometimes there'll be more red chili. It's like from restaurant to restaurant, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
What about you? What's a great dessert that you would default to?
Probably a pumpkin or an apple pie, I think. Yeah. I love to make them from like the crust from scratch and everything and do the little lattice on top and all that.
Oh, I bet you do.
The more
She really
cartoony
does.
it looks and classic, the better.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about this too because I think the last pie Drac made was probably like 10 years ago.
Oh my God, that is not true.
Damn.
Lies.
Damn.
Well, I have been busy the past 10 years.
Yeah, we have been busy.
Now, will you do Cool Whip, whipped cream, or ice cream with a pie?
So I think apple pie is vanilla ice cream and pumpkin
1000%.
pie is whipped cream. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Probably Cool Whip even.
Yeah, I think so. I love that. What about if we just put the piece of pie inside the Cool Whip tub? Can we do that?
Ooh,
That's fabulous. I
That
love
is
that.
fabulous
Yeah.
because there's kind of never enough.
I like that. I'm not a cook. I know how to cook. I can follow a recipe. I'm fine with that. I'm not a cook. My partner is a cook. He's good at that. I love to see recipes on TikTok and I'm like, I'm making that. I am making that. And then I just bury it.
And that never happens.
And I go and I never find it again. Yeah.
I have this fantasy of I'm gonna cook more.
Uh-huh.
And I want my kitchen to be like this artisanal experience with like fresh herbs. And we're gonna control our diets, and it's gonna be, you know, a way to fitness and being, you know,
Sure.
more. And that just doesn't happen. Like life is too busy, and I find we eat out constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen.
Well, I think you can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
You can't grief yourself about it. Like if you're on an upswing with work and that's where you're putting your energy, it's fine. But I do think you got to balance it out at some point.
Sure. The best thing I make for dinner is reservations. That's
Perfect.
That's one. And then yeah, I want to try making all this stuff, but I find that the best thing I can cook at home is sun tea.
Oh, okay.
I like to mix the bags different ways, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this one stayed out 7 hours, so I can really feel it, and I feel like I've done something. Sun tea.
I grew up with sun tea. So did you put sugar in it as well, or do you leave it unsweet?
Leave it unsweetened, and then I'll use the like equal or whatever,
Okay,
like as I
gotcha.
serve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember my grandma used to make it, and it would just be like cups of sugar, you know,
Oh,
and you'd
that
be
sweet
like,
tea in the South is out
Yeah.
of control.
yeah,
They don't
wild.
play with that. They
No,
are
they don't.
serious.
Yeah.
Very serious.
Mhm.
But we are some tea loving people. Like
Are
we
you?
drink iced tea all the time.
It's my like as much as I love Diet Coke, and I love Diet Coke, my first go-to is always going to be iced tea.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
just love it.
We have this in common, okay? Because the love for Diet Coke, but also the level of like being a connoisseur,
Right.
where you're like, I know if I go to this McDonald's, it's gonna be good Coke. It's
Mhm.
gonna that just sounds bad.
It's true.
It's gonna,
gonna
be
be
good
good
Diet
Coke.
Coke, you know. But this Jack in the Box, no. I
Right.
swear they're back there just mixing up phantom concoctions of like, oh, it's a little Dr. Pepper and a little orange, like literally.
Did you, because you did a test, so did you find out why they're different? Like what makes them taste different?
Well, I know that they've said that at McDonald's, they bring the syrup and the carbonation are always transported at a certain temperature.
Okay.
and it's
Mm.
according to the Coca-Cola bottling company. Whereas other places, I swear to God, these other places put in there like C&C Cola or whatever, Shasta.
Once upon a time, I was a server, like working in the food industry, and if someone ordered diet and we didn't have it, like my management would say, "Oh, just put Coke and then splash it with Sprite. It'll taste different, and
Oh,
they won't know." And I'm like, "Okay," and
It's a
that's
good
what I
trick,
think is
actually.
happening. Yeah,
I mean, it's not a
that's
good trick to
interesting.
do, but I could see the taste how that would be
yeah.
effective. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't cook, and I do go out a lot. And you mentioned going out to eat a lot. I feel like when people hear me complain, they think like, "Wow, you must really like uh you have these bad experiences that are so much more than everyone else." And I think it's because I just go out more than everybody else. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
by ratio, you know what I mean? It's like I'm having these experiences. Well, I also bitch a lot. I mean,
But
I
I
think it
see
could be good.
clips of you online, and I'm like, it's relatable. Like we go out to eat a lot too, so a lot of times I see you say something, I'm like, that's true.
But as somebody who's been a server before, like I don't have it in me to say something. So like
Mm.
we talked about before on an episode, um, there's so much that I don't complain about because I don't feel
Mm.
like, if it's something with the kitchen, it's not the server's fault. Like,
Yeah. See, I didn't get that when God was passing out that stuff. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I've worked in this industry. This person is trash. We are getting trash service, and I'm gonna say something. Yeah.
I'm going
You're
out to
so
eat with
nice
you.
though. You
I'm
never
going
say
out to eat with
anything
you.
like that.
For sure, for sure.
No, now come on. If I'm hangry and we're in a restaurant, I'm like, this
But
is
it has
taking
to be
too.
extreme. Like you're
Yeah.
not unjust. You're usually very forgiving.
Thank you for defending my
Well, that's
character.
true.
It is true.
But you fully just admitted that you're a complete. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
that.
In that
We
situation,
can't take that away
absolutely.
from you.
If I haven't had food in a while, you better just
That's true.
duck and cover.
That's funny. Okay, this is a brief letter, which is nice. Dear Delta and spooky guests, with Halloween around the corner, I can't help but wonder, have you ever seen a ghost or had any sort of paranormal experience? Season screamings, much love, signed the dude in the shower.
I've never seen a ghost, although I thought I did because we were setting up said club that we were talking about like years and years ago. It was 3 a.m. I was alone in a crawl space, and I hear
Oh,
something coming from the other room. I'm like digging around for props and stuff, and I crane my neck out the window, and down the hall I see this ancient man walk by across the open
no.
doorway. Yeah, and I was like, "Hello!" Like, I was so freaked out, and it turned out there really was a physical old man there in the middle of the night fixing this antique cash register that they use.
Goodbye.
Yes, exactly. But
I was like, what are the chances of that? Because she called me and was like, I think I saw a ghost. I was like, come on. I was like, you just been there a long time, and the
Mhm.
place is big and it's kind of scary at night. But then you were describing it, and I was like, God, I mean, she really did. And then the next day, the owner was like, oh, yeah, there's only one guy, he's super old, that fixes these kind of cash registers,
Mhm.
and he works in the middle of the night. Because I was
Yeah.
like, there's
He's
no
like
way.
a little lamp, and he's like
Yeah.
walking by with a long.
I've seen it before, and he is very creepy. He definitely is giving
Yeah.
like that poltergeist, like the old guy in that movie. Yeah.
I did have a interesting, I would say it's a paranormal experience, which for me, if it happens, it's usually like connected in dreams. So I had this vivid dream that I was crushed in an elevator,
Oh my gosh.
like underneath the elevator, and it woke me up. It was a nightmare, and I was kind of shook for a few minutes, and then I went back to sleep. I woke up, and I think like many people do, I started looking on my phone at like the news and just different headlines, and there it was. Like a man was crushed in an elevator in New York, like
Oh wow.
3,000 miles away. But I felt like on some level I was channeling that.
Yeah. What about yourself? Anything?
Not really. I'm very grounded and realistic, and that's just not to me. If you don't see it, like I'm just like no. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying if I have no evidence of it, there's nothing for me to go on.
Right.
But I
Right.
do believe in a spiritual plane. I believe that there's more to life than just our physical beings, for sure. But I just don't know what all that is.
Yeah. I don't think I mean, and I would love to say, like, I wish I had seen something. I totally believe in people's experiences. I just don't want to front and be like, oh, I've seen it, because I haven't seen anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I totally believe that it's out there, and I kind of want to experience it. But I just say that as somebody who's intrigued by it,
Yeah.
because I'm sure I would be scared. when it
Honestly, me too.
Yes.
That is like the realm of horror that kind of affects me the most.
Yeah.
Like the unseen, the forces, the supernatural, like that's what really gets me. Like killers breaking into your house trying to hack you up with a chainsaw doesn't really do it to me. I enjoy it, but it doesn't scare me. But the
Right.
supernatural stuff really does.
That's why I've always said, like, I love mainstream horror films, like all the franchises, like, but when I see something like Freddy, I just think Freddy's shady. He's not scary. I love
I agree
him. Like
with
he's
you.
reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's funny.
Right,
That's
the crypt keeper. I want to hug the crypt keeper.
Yeah.
So Oogie Boogie is adorable. That's not
Mhm.
scary.
Totally.
Sure.
I know you're covered in bugs, but it's all right. I probably got bugs. You know,
Totally.
I probably have the bug.
I think ghosts don't scare me at all. Any kind of spirit like that, I would just be like, get out of my house. I'm paying the mortgage. You do not belong here anymore.
Right.
Get
Stop making
out."
all that
Like,
noise.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not having that. But the killer thing, that does get me. So
Yeah.
we're the opposite. in
Yeah,
that
we
way.
are.
Yeah.
In many ways too. Like we just the yin to the yang, and that just happens to be another one.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I think that's how it fits together like a puzzle piece for sure. I love that. Thank you both for being here. This is so fun.
Oh, it was a
Thank you for
pleasure.
having
Yes.
us.
And thank you for giving us Frankenfurter. I love this outfit. We didn't get to talk
Yes,
about it. I think you look
Yes.
great.
Makeup
Thank you.
is fierce. I like to get elevation of the classic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe I should, people always say, was Nancy from The Craft really the daughter of Frankenfurter? Because, there's a lot of
Oh,
similarity
Oh,
there.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So sometimes for drag shows, I'll do like a switch out from one to the other. So I'll have the
Okay.
Nancy
Oh, yeah.
dress. It'll rip off to Frank, and it's like.
Have
a
you ever
fun
seen
thing.
the 80s movie? I think it's called Night of the Demons.
Yes.
That girl, I can't remember her name, is like Victoria or something. I'm like, that she walked so Nancy could run, because they are the
Yes.
same character.
I love when she's like on top of the guy, and she's like, "Do you like my makeup? Do you like my makeup?" And then when she's like going to get candy at the liquor store, and she has her just puss all out, she like bends over, and she's just
You're like, I've been there in both of those
exposed.
situations.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna go trick or treating this year
There you go.
at the liquor store, begging. I'll get full size, I think. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here and for listening and watching Very Delta. Our show comes out every Monday. Subscribe to Mom Podcast YouTube channel and turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode. Search for Very Delta on your favorite podcast apps to listen to the audio-only version if you can't handle all of the glamour on the green sofa. You can also sign up for our premium offerings on Mom Plus Gold by visiting mompodcast.plus, where you get weekly episodes of more Very Delta. Don't forget to send all of your comments and questions to readmedelta@gmail.com. We'll see you next week, and until then, keep things very Delta. Very Delta is produced by Moguls of Media, aka Mom. Hosted by Delta Work. Produced and edited by Doug Robertson. Technical direction by Margot Padilla. With original theme music by Will Pitts. Media and design support by Stone Cold. And set design by Eris Sevilla. Executive produced by Alaska, Willem, Big Dipper, Camille Stennis, and Joe Cilio. Recorded at Forever Dog Productions. Don't forget, kids, when you go trick-or-treating this year, always use an old pillowcase. It's the strongest vessel to carry all of your candy. Forget those paper and plastic bags.
Mom!
To listen to Very Delta ad-free, one day early, and to get access to more Very Delta and all of Mom Podcast's premium content, check out Mom Plus Gold at mompodcast.plus.